Bevin was the most unpopular governor in the country, was once down 20 points, and now it's still too close to call, 49% versus 49%. He ran against a family that's legendary, the Bashir family, of course, in Kentucky. So what's your response to, well, look, it's predictable what they would say, but what's your response?
It's the sound bites that we're so used to. I mean, any opportunity to try to take a swipe. I mean, they don't talk about the rest of the Republican ticket sweeping. They don't talk about the first African-American attorney general who happens to be a Republican, elected. They don't mention that, Trump helped propel those guys to those places. And I like Matt Bevin. He's been a friend of mine. He's a good guy, but he's picked a lot of battles. He's, teed off on a lot of people in Kentucky. That's not always popular. We understand how that works. But they won't give Trump the credit for that. So, I'm not worried about that as a race. I'd love to see another governor. I think those are important. Like I said, I think he's done a good job, but Matt Bevin has picked some fights. So this has nothing to do with Trump. Again, they swept the rest of the ticket. They did great in Mississippi, et cetera, the other election today. The two really, I don't think, have that much to do with each other. But again, because you can utilize it as a platform to try to come up with... Keep knocking Trump, guys. See how well it worked last time.
It's a good thing that the Trump administration loves to rewrite history, because they did a lot of it in the aftermath of the latest round of elections in Virginia and Kentucky. This is Donald Trump Jr. with the heavy-handed assist by Laura Ingraham, both trying their hardest to distance themselves from what turned out to be a devastating night for Republicans as Democrats fled both chambers of the Virginia legislature for the first time in a generation, as well as the gubernatorial seat in Kentucky, a state that Trump won by 30 points in 2016. And they waste no time in qualifying Bevin's loss, citing the fact that he's the most unpopular governor in the country, that the Bashir family is suddenly legendary, that Bevin has picked too many fights with people. I mean, we're about 5 minutes away from Don Jr. and Ingraham just outright claiming they've never met the guy. Don Jr. then tries to pretend that the GOP actually came out on top, pointing to other races that Republicans won in Kentucky and the fact that they held on to the governor's seat in Mississippi. You know it's bad when you have to start bragging about Republicans winning races in Mississippi. We're almost at the point where Don Jr. is going to start bragging that Trump did excellent with all voters with the last name Trump. But Don Jr. even goes so far as to say that this has nothing to do with Trump, which is rich considering Republicans have had a stranglehold on both chambers in Virginia and the Kentucky gubernatorial seat for decades. So I wonder what the one variable might be after years and years of Republican control. Guess we'll never know. The fact is that Trump did invest heavily in these states. Not only did he tweet dozens of times on behalf of Matt Bevin in particular, but he was in Kentucky the night before the election for a rally specifically to drum up support for the guy. And at that rally, Trump explicitly mentioned the fact that this election would be a referendum on him.
You're sending that big message to the rest of the country. It's so important. You got to get your friends. You got to vote. Because if you lose, it sends a really bad message. It just sends a bad, and they will build it up. Here's the story. If you win, they're going to make it like ho-hum. And if you lose, they're going to say, Trump suffered the greatest defeat in the history of the world. This was the greatest. You can't let that happen to me.
But sure, aside from the tweets, the rally, and the fact that he's dragged the entire party down with him as he commits crime after crime, I'm sure that Trump definitely had no involvement whatsoever. But of course, what would this administration be if not a barrage of mixed messages and poor communication? Trump himself expressly undercut Don Jr.'s argument by claiming that, in fact, he did have something to do with it, tweeting, "Our big Kentucky rally on Monday night had a massive impact on all of the races. The increase in governor's race was at least 15 points and maybe 20. To be clear, what Trump is saying here is that if he hadn't intervened, Bevin was poised to lose 61-39 in Kentucky. So, in summary, Trump held an entire rally for Matt Bevin, but also the Bashir family is legendary, but also he dedicated his Twitter feed to promoting the race, but also he had nothing to do with this election, but also he was responsible for a 15 to 20 point swing. Got it. But as if the pathetic excuses weren't bad enough, it was actually the outgoing Republican governor who made the most shameful move of the night when he decided that he was going to refuse to concede the race, citing, what else but voter fraud. And this has become a cornerstone of any Republican loss. Trump assembled an entire commission to investigate his own baseless allegations of voter fraud, an excuse he cooked up to massage his bruised ego after losing the popular vote to Hillary Clinton by 3 million votes. And to exactly no one's surprise, that commission was disbanded after finding zero evidence that supported his claims. And that's what our tax dollars are paying for in the Trump era. Ironically enough, there actually was an instance of fraud that made national headlines on the same day is Bevin's baseless claim. And it occurred in Ohio, where 2 people were charged with distributing phony sample ballots at the polls. Turns out both people were Republicans. Funny how it always seems to work out that way. But there is real danger in Bevin's reckless decision to arbitrarily claim voter fraud, and you know that Trump is paying close attention, because as more and more states reject him and his party, you absolutely know that he'll latch on to whatever excuse he can cook up. And he's claimed voter fraud before, so there isn't much stopping him from doing it again. Although the fact is that if the GOP can't manage to keep states like Kentucky in play, then even Trump's BS excuses will be drowned out by the glaring rejection of Trump and his party.